The sun had barely risen over the dusty plains of Willow Creek when Emma Hayes stood on the porch of her crumbling little farmhouse, clutching a worn letter that had shattered her world. It was a foreclosure notice. Her home, the last thing her late father had left her, was being taken away. She had worked every day since he died to keep it, sewing clothes, baking bread, even mending fences for neighbors. But the bank didn't care about hard work or memories. The land had already been sold, to a rancher named Colton Ward. She had heard of him, everyone had. Colton Ward was the wealthiest rancher in 3 counties, a man as cold and commanding as the iron fences that surrounded his vast empire. He'd lost his wife 3 years ago and had since buried himself in work, expanding his ranch until it nearly swallowed half the town. To most, he was a man to be feared, ruthless, distant, untouchable. But Emma had nothing left to lose. So she rode her father's old mule across the dusty road to the Ward Ranch. The land stretched endlessly before her, rolling green fields, strong horses, and white fenced pastures that glimmered in the morning light. When she reached the big house, she hesitated for just a moment before knocking. The door swung open, and there he was, tall, broad-shouldered, with eyes like storm clouds. "What do you want?" His voice was low, firm, the kind of voice that could command an army or break a heart. She swallowed hard, clutching the foreclosure letter in trembling hands. "Please, Mr. Ward, don't take my home," she whispered. "It's all I have left." Colton studied her, the threadbare dress, the dirt on her shoes, the desperate fire in her eyes. For a moment, something flickered in his expression. Then he said, "You're the Hayes girl, aren't you?" She nodded. He took the letter from her, glanced at it, then back at her face. "Your father owed more than just money. That land's worth something, and I don't run a charity." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I'll work for it, clean, cook, do anything. Just please, don't take it from me." Colton stepped closer. "You'd do anything." She nodded, not understanding what he meant. He paused, then said quietly, "Then you must be my wife." The words hit her like thunder. "Your wife." He looked away for a moment, as if embarrassed by his own words. "My mother's dying," he said finally. "She keeps begging to see me settled before she goes. I don't want some greedy socialite marrying me for my money. I need someone honest, someone I can trust to care for her until the end." He met her gaze again. "You'll keep your home. I'll even pay off your father's debt. In return, you marry me. A business deal, nothing more." Emma's heart pounded. Marry a man she barely knew. Live in his house like some kind of bargain. But when she thought of her father's land, of the memories tied to that little house, the laughter, the love, she couldn't say no. So she agreed. The wedding was quiet, attended only by a preacher, Colton's mother, and a few ranch hands. Mrs. Ward, frail and gentle, held Emma's hands afterward and whispered, "Thank you, child. You've given my son more than you'll ever know." At first, the marriage was awkward. Colton barely spoke at dinner, spending his days in the fields or his study. Emma helped around the ranch, cooking meals, caring for his mother, and slowly earning the respect of the ranch hands who doubted her. She discovered that Colton wasn't cruel, just wounded. He had lost his wife and unborn child in a storm years ago, and the grief had hardened him. One evening, as the wind howled outside, Emma found him sitting by the fire, staring at a small silver locket in his hand. She sat quietly beside him. "She was beautiful," she said. Softly. He didn't answer right away. Then he whispered, "She was my whole world. When she died, I stopped living too." Emma placed her hand gently over his. "Maybe it's time to start again." For the first time, he looked at her, really looked. And something in his chest stirred, something he thought was long dead. Weeks turned into months. Emma brought warmth back into the big, lonely ranch house. She laughed with the workers, sang while she cooked, and tended to the sick horses as if they were her own children. Slowly, Colton began to change. He found excuses to join her in the kitchen, to ride beside her through the fields, to watch her smile. But neither of them dared to speak of love. Until one night, when his mother passed peacefully in her sleep. Emma held the old woman's hand and cried beside her bed. Colton found them there and felt his heart break, not just for his mother, but for the woman who had come into his life like a sunrise after years of darkness. He pulled Emma into his arms. "You didn't just save my mother," he whispered hoarsely. "You saved me." She looked up through her tears. You saved me too, Colton. He kissed her then, a kiss full of everything they hadn't said, everything they'd been too afraid to feel. Months later, the small farmhouse she once begged to save still stood, but now it was surrounded by laughter, love, and new life. Emma had turned it into a place where orphans and widows from town could find shelter and work. Colton had expanded his ranch not for profit, but for purpose, a home built not on wealth, but on redemption.